This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, or so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Welcome back to the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with your host, David Charlton. Today I continue with another short bite, this time where leadership is the topic that we look at, specifically talking about vulnerability in leaders or managers. From a mental toughness angle, this links closely with a number of measures from the Peter Cloughs 4C's Model of Mental Toughness. From interpersonal confidence and being comfortable in yourself when you communicate to others, to emotional control, where we can choose to express our emotions or not. I hope that you go on to enjoy listening to Paula Eddy Wilcox's insights into sharing our vulnerabilities. The full episode was 128, where we took the excerpt from, should you wish to hear more from Paula. In terms of vulnerability in leadership, do you just want to, again, share with the listeners a little bit more about this?
Yeah, and I was thinking about this, David. I've got another little thing to share with you, and it is a little model, if you like, that might help your listeners. So when we think about leadership and career success, if you like, there's a neat little model called the pie of career success. So apologies if anyone's heard this before, but I will just share it because it is really interesting. So the pie of career success, a pie, exactly as you think about it. So think of that pie chart on the page. You've got three elements. You've got performance, image, and exposure. Now, this is definitely related to vulnerability, so I'm not going off at a tangent, I promise. So we've got performance is a portion of the pie, image is a portion of the pie, and exposure is a portion of the pie. Now, this is the simplest of models. So when we look at this in the mentoring workshops that I facilitate and run, we ask the people that are in the workshop, what percentage of performance do you think is related to your career success right now? A lot of them come back and say sort of 50, 60%. Okay, so what percentage of image is related to your career success right now? And they might say, I don't know, 20%. So we've already got 80%, which means that then they can only say, what percentage of exposure do you think is related to your career success? Well, we've got 20%, so there's your 100%. In reality, the pie is divided by 10% for performance because we show up. Performance is a given, and most of us, in the main, have a great work ethic and want to do a good job and deliver quality work. So that's a given. Image is 30%. Image is all about your personal brand, how you want to be seen and seen by others, and how you see yourself. And then exposure is a whopping 60%. And this is what we're talking about, getting out there, being seen, and in a way, putting yourself out there and being vulnerable in your leadership. And there's loads of stuff you can do to help you get visible and put yourself out there to be vulnerable, especially when you're more on the introversion side of things, because that's to do with your preference rather than being, as people traditionally think, extroverts, they're all outspoken, blah, blah, blah. Introverts, they don't say anything at all. It's not just about that at all. It's to do with the preferences of how you show up and the way that you think. So introverts think internally and need time to reflect on things. So if they're quiet in meetings, that's why, because they're doing all that thinking and reflecting on what's going on in the moment. Whereas the extroverts, they do their thinking out loud. So traditionally, they're the ones that take up the time in the meeting and talk out loud in the moment. That doesn't mean the introverts have got nothing to say. So, there are ways of getting support on that. One is to really be honest about how you are and how you like to show up, and always pushing yourself a little bit more outside of your comfort zone, because when you get through that fear zone into the growth and the learning zone, that's kind of where the magic happens and where you make your comfort zone that little bit bigger. So doing some of that for yourself, getting a mentor or a coach to help you do that and hold you to account is going to be really important for you, and helping you get more comfortable with the uncomfortable of getting visible and vulnerable. And then, of course, trying to get a sponsor if you're in some sort of organization where you're trying to navigate promotion or whatever it might be, extend your career in different ways, get into different projects. But also in the sporting environment, having people know about you and bring you forwards, at the right time, and talk about you to the right people, influential people, is all going to help in getting you out there and helping you get more comfortable with being vulnerable. Because vulnerability really is all about showing up and saying, this is me, this is who I am, and what can I give to you from that? What would you like to take from that, in a way?
Yeah, I'm thinking here from a business and a sporting angle here. So again, an element of mental toughness is goal orientation, which is really what it's all about. It's all about setting goals, long-term, short-term goals. And in this respect, there's a lot of organizations literally will, I suppose, once a year turn around and say, right, these are our goals for the year. And then it's on paper, maybe somewhere on a website, and that's it. But essentially, as a leader, being able to talk about the goals on a regular basis to people, and when things aren't going right, being open and honest about why things aren't going right is a skill. But often, I suppose, people can potentially fall into the trap. Well, if the organization's failing here, then it affects their own self-esteem, so they won't allow themselves to be vulnerable.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, David. I think, and as you were talking there, it's making me think about that sort of fixed versus growth mindset as well, which comes into it, being able to learn from failures and try again until you get it right is a hugely important part of your personal growth, and in terms of the organization that you're part of as well. If we're thinking about a business sense, it's so important to regularly visit the goals that we set for ourselves. In my business, I do that at least quarterly, but in terms of my goals, they're in my mind all the time. A big goal for me this year was to set up my own podcast. So I won't bore you with the details of that, but it's on the cards, and unless you take responsibility, you're accountable to yourself. And for me, I surround myself with people that help keep me to account to achieve these goals. You are setting yourself up for failure in that sense. So, taking that step, trying something, failing, learning from it, moving forwards and trying again, and using those learnings is really going to help you adopt that growth mindset, achieve those goals that you really want, and help you to get there. If you're not doing that, I would ask yourself, what's the reason you're not doing that? Do those goals really mean something to you? And the outcome, is that really what you want to achieve? Because if it isn't, again, be vulnerable. Say so. Say, this just isn't floating my boat. Because, we've all been there. We've all been given a corporate goal or a business goal that we're like, great. That's really great. I'm really looking forward to achieving that. Yay. And, our heart's not in it. Yeah. It's just not in it. You need to find things that you're excited about, that you are personally invested in, because then you will put in every effort to make sure that you achieve those goals.
There's something there as well about, if you're in a managerial role, being a good coach and asking some damn good questions is important.
Yeah. So what did you make of that? The reference to PI, performance, image and exposure, I particularly liked. How many people out there choose to hide their vulnerabilities and live in fear, almost? From a sporting and often a business perspective, performance is everything to a lot of people, and their self-worth is attached hugely to it. Therefore, when things do go wrong, they go into their shell, they bury their head in the sand, and, often we're told to remain positive all of the time. So, as a result, they'll look to blame everybody, when actually it's their own doing. On image, some people worry an awful lot about what others think. They fear judgment. So again, they put off making important decisions. The exposure side, well, it is a little bit different in sport, where there's often no place to hide because of the regularity of competition and matches, and then the scrutiny that comes with that. However, many will keep their cool and they won't express the real happenings to others in an honest manner. I'm sure you'll have seen that. Now, on researching vulnerability in leadership, I've come across the following benefits. Sharing vulnerability as a leader can make you more relatable. It drives emotional connection, which helps with trust and respect across the team or the club or the organisation. Now, then we've got taking responsibility. That's another plus point, and it means that you actually deal with, and as Paula says, you learn from mistakes or difficulties. And with that comes creativity and improved problem solving, with, of course, continuous growth high on your agenda. Some food for thought, I hope. For more on this topic, you can check out The Mental Edge, a regular newsletter where I go on to share a range of resources each week. Enjoy your day. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sports psychology resources. The Sport Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.